In 2008, BlackBerry was worth $75 billion. It had invented the smartphone as the world knew it. Push email, always-on connectivity, a device so addictive they called it Crackberry. The President of the United States refused to give his up. Within 5 years, the company was effectively dead. Not because a better phone killed it, but because 3 fatal decisions handed the future it built to Apple. In 1984, inside a cramped garage in Waterloo, Ontario, Mike Lazaridis and Douglas Fregin launched Research in Motion with little more than a workbench, a handful of circuit boards, and an idea that wireless data could change the way people connect. Their first break came not from Silicon Valley, but from Detroit, a $600,000 contract with General Motors to build LED displays for dashboard computers. That money kept the lights on, but the company was always a few bad months away from collapse. By 1992, the pressure nearly broke them. Payroll was late, and the bank threatened foreclosure. Jim Balsillie, an ambitious MBA, staked his own future on the company, mortgaging his house for $250,000, and eventually pouring in over $500,000. He joined as co-CEO, balancing Lazaridis' engineering drive with relentless business hustle. Every decision felt existential. The gamble was not just financial, it was personal. What set Research in Motion apart was a technical insight that seemed almost trivial at first: the idea that email, the lifeblood of business, should not wait for the user to check it. Instead, messages should arrive instantly, like a phone call. Traditional mobile devices pulled servers every few minutes, draining batteries and creating delays. Lazaridis and his engineers sketched out a different architecture, one where a central server pushed new messages to the device the moment they arrived. The first working prototype was little more than a pager with a crude LCD screen, but it delivered email in real time. The effect was immediate and addictive. In 1999, the BlackBerry. 850 shipped to business customers. Patent diagrams showed the server-initiated push system, a breakthrough that let executives respond to deals, crises, and opportunities from anywhere. Early press releases promised that email finds you. For the first time, the office was in your pocket. The risks, the sleepless nights, the personal loans, and the technical leaps had paid off. But the seeds of future trouble were already there. A company built on engineering brilliance, convinced that what worked for business would work forever. BlackBerry's grip on the world was total. By 2007, more than half of all smartphones sold in the United States bore the BlackBerry logo. The company's global share hovered near 20%, outpacing every rival in the enterprise market. The numbers only tell part of the story. BlackBerry Messenger, known as BBM, exploded to over 5 million users by the end of 2007, creating a closed network where messages zipped instantly between devices. For millions, BBM was not just a feature, it was a reason to choose BlackBerry over anything else. In boardrooms, on trading floors, and inside government offices, the BlackBerry became a badge of power. Executives clutched their devices during meetings, thumbs flying over the tiny keyboard. The term Crackberry entered the dictionary in 2006, a nod to the device's compulsive pull. The so-called BlackBerry prayer, head bowed, hands clasped around the phone, became a familiar sight from Wall Street to Westminster. No one embodied this dependence more than Barack Obama. As president-elect in 2008, Obama refused to surrender his BlackBerry, even as the Secret Service pressed him to switch for security reasons. The standoff became national news. In the end, the White House approved a custom-hardened device, and Obama's public loyalty was estimated to be worth tens of millions in free advertising. For BlackBerry, the endorsement was priceless. The most powerful man in the world could not live without it. On the markets, BlackBerry soared. In June 2008, its valuation peaked at nearly $75 billion. RIM was suddenly worth more than Amazon, more than Nvidia, more than Netflix combined. The company's founders and executives were hailed as visionaries. There was a sense that the future belonged to them, that the BlackBerry's place at the center of business and politics was unshakable. But beneath the surface, the addiction had a cost. Users joked about never being able to unplug. Relationships frayed. The device that once promised freedom now chained its owners to a constant stream of messages. And inside RIM, confidence hardened into certainty. The world, they believed, would never want anything else. On January 9th, 2007, a single keynote sent a tremor through the mobile industry. Under the bright lights in San Francisco, Steve Jobs revealed the iPhone, a device that fused phone, internet, and music into a single glass slab. BlackBerry's leadership watched the demo with a mixture of disbelief and quiet alarm. Internally, a slide deck circulated at Research in Motion headquarters that warned that the iPhone was a serious high-end challenger and a threat to the high-end market. The warning was clear, but the response was anything but unified. Mike Lazaridis, the company's technical visionary, dismissed the iPhone in a boardroom meeting. He told his executives that these are computers, we are a mobile company, and we do not want to be a computer company. The line meant to steady the ship instead revealed a blind spot. The iPhone's touchscreen, web browser, and seamless design were seen as novelties, not threats to BlackBerry's iron grip on business. Research in Motion's internal culture, built on security, battery life, and the sanctity of the keyboard, could not accept that the market might want something different. The iPhone's arrival was not just another competitor. It was a new paradigm, one that made BlackBerry's strengths look suddenly narrow. While some inside Research in Motion recognized the danger, institutional confidence drowned out dissent. The company's fate was not sealed overnight, but the first crack in the armor had appeared. The BlackBerry storm arrived in late 2008 as RIM's answer to the iPhone. Expectations ran high. Instead, the rollout became a cautionary tale. Verizon's return rate topped 50% within the first month, an industry outlier. Reviewers described the SurePress touchscreen as sluggish and unresponsive. Software bugs forced frequent reboots. By mid-2009, $500 million in unsold Storm inventory sat on shelves, and user trust fractured. The damage did not stop with consumers. BlackBerry's app world, launched in 2009, struggled to attract developers. By the end of 2010, it offered barely 2,500 apps, while Apple's App Store boasted 250,000 and Android's market had 100,000. Developers, frustrated by clunky tools and a shrinking user base, shifted their focus to iOS and Android. Conference halls that once buzzed with BlackBerry workshops emptied out. By 2011, surveys showed only 3% of top developers prioritized BlackBerry. Inside RIM, frustration boiled over. In March 2011, an anonymous letter signed by dozens of employees surfaced online. It described missed deadlines, infighting, and a culture where projects were falling further and further behind schedule. The letter was a public cry for help, and a sign that the company's internal fracture had become impossible to ignore. By 2011, BlackBerry's decline was no longer a matter of debate, but of measurement. US market share fell to 14.6% that year, less than a third of its position just 4 years earlier. Globally, the picture was even starker. Under 5% by 2012, as Android and iOS carved up the market. Revenue, once nearly $20 billion, dropped to $2.2 billion by 2016. In the last quarter of that year, BlackBerry shipped just 207,900 devices worldwide. Compare that to 432 million smartphones sold in the same period, and the company's presence had all but vanished. Desperation brought one final gamble. In early 2013, BlackBerry 10 launched, after years of internal debate and missed deadlines. The new operating system was modern, fast, and secure, on paper at least, but the world had moved on. Developers had already abandoned the platform, and users were locked into Apple's and Google's ecosystems. The app gap was now a chasm. BlackBerry 10's debut failed to reverse the slide. Sales continued to fall, and the company's identity crisis deepened. 3 decisions sealed BlackBerry's fate. First, leadership clung to the belief that enterprise customers would never leave. Second, they failed to create a thriving developer ecosystem, leaving the platform starved of apps. Third, the dual CEO structure, once a source of balance, became a source of paralysis, with no clear vision guiding the response to Apple and Google. The collapse was not a single event, but a series of choices, each compounding the last, until nothing remained of the empire that once invented the future. Today, the smartphone market still punishes arrogance and slow adaptation. BlackBerry's collapse was not technological, it was strategic blindness, ignoring the iPhone's ecosystem, clinging to enterprise loyalty, and paralysis at the top. In tech, vision fades fast. Only those who reinvent survive. What happens when leaders stop listening?